is that when we let a new group of people into a particular role, they're going to transform that role as well. You know, when we started having gay rabbis, women rabbis, egalitarianism, women in leadership in general, we didn't expect that nothing would happen to change in our communities. And the message could be like, welcome to the old house, please don't touch anything. Sort of the message some people get. Or it could be, welcome to the old house, we expect you to renovate it. Which is still, I think, not where I'd like us to be. I'd like us to be at a place of like, hi, I haven't seen you in this giant tent before. Here's how I got here. What's your story? It's important here to think about stereotypes and where you might have a hard time seeing someone as fully Jewish or equally Jewish as you. Many people, myself included, have a really hard time with Messianic Jews. That's Christians who take on Jewish practice and believe in Yeshua or Jesus as the Messiah, which to me seems like pretty exclusive of Jewish identity, but to them, they're for sure Jews. A little closer to home, maybe more controversial, there's really large numbers of adopted and converted children in the American Jewish community who aren't white. And many people in the community are covertly or overtly uncomfortable because this isn't what the Jewish community looks like. And that's not just straight up skin color racism. That's like a deep feeling of like white Ashkenazi Jews are the normal Jews. And I think for myself at least, you know, it wasn't until I was a teenager that I met Jews who weren't white Ashkenazi Jews. So we can be forgiven for having these prejudices, but it does need to be looked at. So I'm going to ask a question. I'd like to have like one voice from the audience. What's your earliest memory of being Jewish? Great, volunteer. I just want to hear about how somebody learned they were Jewish, how they knew or felt it when they were young. Right there, in black jacket.
Well, I went to public school in the first grade. In the middle of the first grade, my parents took me to yeshiva, and they did because of the new book of Christmas trees that were out.
Wow. And do you remember what they said or what they did?
So all of a sudden I was in that school.
Did you have any like personal feelings about it? Okay. So, what I was hoping to elicit but didn't happen, it's a great story, is that people believe they are what they feel they are. It's kind of tautological, and I'm sorry that I don't have a better way of putting it than that. But it's very hard to argue someone out of an individual identity that they really carry in their heart and in their kishkas and their guts. If they grew up Jewish in any context, Reform, Reconstructionist, secular, communist, I have friends who grew up in like Jewish secular communist circles, it won't work to tell them they're not Jewish. I think people know this already. Whether they share a status, a group identity, as Rabbi Tucker explained, is different. That's accepted by the group, and often by leaders of the group or like a behind-the-scenes tastemaker of the group. This is the sticky piece where we're talking today. And this is exactly the place where mixed heritage people get really frustrated about wanting that we don't want to have to join where we're already a member. So another challenge is that our idea of like our life stories and our backstories has changed. It used to be that the sort of pastoral advice to someone who is undergoing, who is leading someone through conversion, is that we don't tell a convert that they once ate pork. We don't mention that someone is a convert. And that's seen as a respectful way to honor their choice. But that's not how we think about identity now. Now we have a rhetoric of bringing our whole selves, bringing our whole lives to whatever setting we're in. The Jewish journey is something that many people have talked about, whether they're in a leadership program or rabbinical school. This is what it means to bring everything that you have to your current life. And I think it's not that that was a lie back then, that people didn't bring their whole selves. It's just that's what we value now, kind of our whole lives. And we also privilege diversity, which is always going to be balanced with wanting to have some kind of like integrity or core to our Jewish life and our Jewish lifestyle. So related to identity, we have ritual, and I would say that identity is about personal feelings and a group consensus of some kind, but the ritual is a way to shape or smooth that identity, to kind of take the uneven landscape of all somebody's feelings and smooth it out a bit. Like, if your parents are both Jews and the Jews think you're a Jew, you can be ignorant, you can be lapsed, you can be Buddhist, you can be chazer fressing, pork eating, whatever. You have to really go far, as Ethan said, to convert to another religion for American Jews to think you're not a Jew. And if you have no Jewish parentage, you feel as connected to God as you want. You love the Jewish people, you love Torah, you observe mitzvot, but very few people think you're Jewish until you go see a beis din and dunk in a mikveh. So I think that it would be very simple if there was a pluralistic solution verdict on this angle, in order to kind of take everybody who might be a little bit complicated and kind of throw them in the mikveh and we're done. But rituals create structure where feelings are complicated, but people have feelings about rituals. We can't control those feelings, even with best pastoral care. And what usually happens is that even if we're trying to be really kind about somebody not being Jewish, or not being technically Jewish, or not being politically Jewish, and we really like you, just go on the mikveh here, the discomfort shows through. It shows through the veneer. And there's not a way to go around that unless we go through it and deal with the discomfort. So what's that discomfort? I ran a day-long conference for mixed heritage Jews a couple years ago, and it was great to see just how many people had this outsider feeling. And I realized lots of people who are prolifically Jewish have this feeling as well. And this is where I'll talk a bit about my own mixed heritage history. I've always been prolifically Jewish, and that didn't prevent me from feeling like I was a totally inadequate and unpromising type of Jew. People told me, you're just Jewish, when I talked about my family, and it had the effect of making me feel that my father's culture and his very being were unwanted and should be hidden or not talked about. Some of the discomfort that people have comes from the rabbinic era. There's a distaste for forbidden mixtures. We don't have milk and meat together. We don't put linen and wool in the same thing. And there's just kind of a Jew and Gentile, they don't go together. Another piece of discomfort for me is that when people ask me to judge my parents' choice to have me, is an invalidation of someone's very being. It's important not to force people to second-guess their parents' choices, especially the choice to give birth to them and to raise them. And this is what we call kibbud avim, honoring your parents. It's also important for people whose parents taught them the halacha, or who are the embodiments of it for them, to also honor their parents through this. So I would like to see a different way of looking at intermarriage come out of today for some people. I would like to see a rich and meaningful Jewish community that all kinds of people can be at home in and can be out as their full selves in. And I think that where Dr. Pauser started is a great place for me to end. Principled humility, I might be wrong, and enjoying discomfort.